Well, thanks everybody for joining. I know in my part of the world it's a little bit later than our normal call, so if you're in the kind of U.S. Americas time zone, appreciate you staying up late. If you're in Europe, you're up super late, so we really appreciate you guys being up. And then yeah, for everyone else, thanks for joining. We're really excited today to have Bifrost on and talk about the listing on Karura Swap and getting more involved with Karura. We're going to go through, the agenda's been posted in the community call whiteboard channel. So we'll give just a little bit of background about Karura Swap and how this process actually works. And then we'll give a majority of the time for Tyrone to kind of introduce himself, the Bifrost team, kind of what their core focus is in the Kusama ecosystem, and talk through the listing of BNC, the liquidity mining program, and then we'll let anyone else in the room who has questions can go ahead and ask questions towards the end. If this is your first community call, we do, on the left here, you'll see you're obviously in this channel, and then right above that is the whiteboard, which is a read-only channel for the audience where we and Tyrone, any speakers can post relevant text or images throughout the presentation. And then the channel above that is the community call chat, and this is an open chat where anyone can just kind of hang out and talk throughout the community call today. So to get started, maybe Betty, do you want to introduce yourself really quickly and give a little background about how this process actually works with getting tokens listed on Karura's DEX? This is a pretty special one because it's the first cross-parachain token listing, kind of proving this whole model of cross-chain messaging within the Kusama and Polkadot ecosystem. And really exciting, especially now as we're all kind of excited about Polkadot auctions being launched, and seeing the tech actually working in production on Kusama is a really positive sign for everyone. So Betty, do you want to just give a little bit of background about how we got to this point and how this works, and then we'll hand it over to Tyrone.
Sure. Hi, everyone. This is Betty speaking from Auckland, New Zealand. Yeah, I'm one of the co-founders of Akala. Yeah, and then I think since we launched on Kusama, it's been a few months now. And then we've gradually turned on various different features, including obviously the cross-chain feature using XCM. And then that is basically probably starting to unleash the power and Polkadot technology, which is this shared security and cross-chain communication. Basically, in a real sense, the two parachains connected to Kusama or Polkadot, they can actually communicate in a meaningful way. A meaningful way means we both have the same level of network security, and then we can trust each other trustlessly, right? So this is basically the beginning of kind of that journey. And then I think follow on this, you will probably start to see more sort of asset transferred across various different parachains, as well as more advanced features of XCM. Like not only you can transfer fungible assets, but also non-fungible assets. And not only you can just do value transfer, but also you can do state change on top of those value transfers, which means you can do more complex logics beyond just transferring some value between two chains. So example would be like, for example, Bifrost may, users of Bifrost may transfer some assets, and then it can just, and then also maybe add the asset into the liquidity pool, or just do a trade, and then send it back to the Bifrost chain, and all in one call, right? So I think ultimately that is the place that we want to get to, is having this cross-chain use case seamlessly being able to handle in one, best case is one call atomically. So, but of course, there's a bit of distance for us to get there. We're kind of at step number one here, doing the basic asset transfer. And also step two is kind of listing the cross-chain asset on the Karura swap. And then the whole discussion actually started maybe about a month ago. The Bifrost team, they're one of the first to be technically ready for this type of work. And then they've posted forum post on the Akala and Karura forum to kind of outline their intention of cross their tokens over, and then also list on the DEX pool using the Bootstrap facility that I think most of the Karura community member are familiar with, and kind of signifies one of the first use cases of cross-chain. And then through that process, there's a lot of work hidden behind the scene between the two core dev teams, kind of collaborating to make sure technically it's kind of working. In addition to, the discussion happened on the forum to kind of like understand the dynamics of the two community, the tokens, and also how the whole Bootstrap. I'm sure Tyrone is going to go into a bit more detail on how the Bootstrap has been planned out for the Bifrost listing. So and then through that process, two kind of dev team gone through the process of probably simply put as two-step process. One is being able to cross the tokens from one parachain to the other, and that requires a channel being set up between the two chains. You can think of it a little bit like setting up a foreign trade with another country. Right, so both sides will have to use some standardized protocol, which is XCM, but then both of you will have to kind of agree that the sort of the foreign trade is going to happen, and then what are the rules, what fees are going to be charged, etc. And then so you've got to make sure that technically that's actually working, and then before going through governance on each side, to be able to enact that cross-chain communication channel. And then once those channel is set up, then basically the tokens enabled will be able to transfer back and forth between the two chains, and the transaction is secured by the Kusama validators. So so that is basically step number one. I think for subsequent parachains, I think there's this is a good example, and everyone is technically is trying to make sure this is working, and then then we can do all the more fancy stuff. So that's step number two. Is the more fancy stuff is once the tokens from Bifrost coming over, also vsKSM later, and they want to use the Karura swap and then listing the tokens, and and then we can figure that part out listing. And that part is relatively known because we've done so for KSM and kUSD, and also done so for KR and KSM. It's more of figuring out what that looks like for their community and the sort of liquidity program looks like. So so the end-to-end process kind of takes a couple of weeks for the technical collaboration to happen, and then I think today is the day that things are happening, and then hopefully everyone will have a chance to actually review the blog that's been posted, how to do the cross-chain transfer, as well as how to participate in the upcoming program. So
I've just gone ahead and posted the blog to the community call whiteboard, and also more on Bootstrap. It's kind of interesting because since Karura Swap is launched, we've had a number of bootstraps on liquidity pairs, but as Dan was saying, this one is quite special because it represents a great step forward with two parachains working together. So I encourage everyone to take a look at the blog post, and we'll go into some more details on this call.
Cool. Well, let's get into the main topic of conversation. So I'll let Tyrone give a full kind of explanation of what he and the team at Bifrost are building. A lot of their products are built around yield products and staking products, products to kind of help get liquidity out of certain assets. They were also, I believe, one of the first 5 parachains to win an auction, along with us in the beginning. And we're looking forward to continuing to work with them more and more closely. So Tyrone, I'll let you take over, and he'll probably be pasting things in the whiteboard. If you do, Tyrone, just let people know so they can take a look. Otherwise, go ahead.
Thanks for the Akala team, and thanks for the opening speech of Betty. It's very clear about the introduction about the double-side cross-chain between Akala, Karura, and Bifrost. It's actually, like the Betty said, it's the first ever 2 parachains bridging up the HRMP channel and do the asset transaction between 2 blockchains. So yeah, let's go through the main topic today. Before I introduced about the Bootstrap, I will go straight in 2 minutes about what is Bifrost and what we are doing and where we are now. So I've sent some information in the whiteboard if you want to check it out. So yeah, actually Bifrost is sorry, let me. Okay, actually Bifrost is a parachain that connect with external blockchain and the internal blockchain, which is a parachain. So we are actually producing in a disruptive way to connect with them to provide liquidity with different parachain ecosystem. So actually now what we did is that we actually launched the SALP module, which is the slot auction liquidity module to provide some liquidity for the parachain bounding in the Kusama parachain auction. So we actually launched the SLP in September 16th, 2021. That's actually the big step forward from Bifrost to the liquidity provider between different parachains. So you can, in Akala, we provide the same service for the parachain bounding, but the difference is that Akala will use the LC dot to support the Polkadot auction, right? But Bifrost SLP is actually the general protocol to provide the service for different for other different parachains. So here's some data that we already reached about. So we actually supported 4 parachains in the Kusama auction, which include Basilisk, Alta, Kintsugi, Parallel, and totally we accumulated about 15,000 Kusama underlying in the Bifrost parachain, and it's totally decentralized through the through the XAMP to actually do the representing contribute for these parachains and get the VS dot as the liquidity derivative for them for the users, and we already got the SLP contributing address about 1,300. That's actually a big milestone for us to do the service for this. And yeah, we've been made about a trophy. We've actually supported all of these parachains, and we won, and they all won about it, and we totally accumulated about 150 Kusama in the Bifrost parachain. So actually where we at now is we are actually opening the transferring BNC transferring, and we are bridging up with accounting for the HRMP between each other. So we will actually do the first ever listing, DEX listing in Karura. That's actually so exciting for us and so exciting for both of us. So you can take a look on the whiteboard. That's actually the ongoing democracy in actually Bifrost parachain. So it will end in 1 day, and the BNC transfer will be opened. So let's talk about some detail about the DEX listing. So we want to list on Karura because that's this very feed about the miner. Karura, that's the complicated decentralized DEX and actually a DeFi hub in the Kusama ecosystem. That's the best place to do the new things with different parachains. So we plan to do the listing in a decentralized mine with Karura, and the mechanism for the listing is Bootstrap and the liquidity mining. So Bootstrap is very interesting. It's very interesting mechanism that can provide some the security to protect the liquidity provider in advance. And the list Bootstrap parameters actually is no trading during the Bootstrap, and the trading and the price will be will be shown up after the Bootstrap is over. So actually, it will be done in the 21st of 21st at I think it's 3 p.m. UTC time. So it's close to the end in one day, and we also have to meet 20,000 BNC or 100,000 kUSD in the liquidity. So it will actually end up the Bootstrap. Oh, thanks for the Dan to explain about the HRMP. Cheers a lot. So the Bootstrap details have already started, and it will be end up at 21st. So no trading is allowed during the period, and you can contribute BNC or you can contribute kUSD, or you can contribute both of them as a pair, right? And the actual exchange rate will be known once the Bootstrap is complete, definitely. And contribute liquidity and get LP tokens, and LP share is dynamic. You can actually claim your LP token after the Bootstrap is done, and you can put your LP token into the the liquidity mining, and you can get the price from BNC and KR as reward. So LP share is dynamic, which means that with a bigger pool and more deposit asset in the pool, and U share will be squeezed. And please be aware of various risks of being a liquidity provider. You might meet with you might have the risk about the your permanent loss, and please be aware of. If you don't know what is DeFi, please don't touch it. And yeah, about the liquidity mining, yeah, we have totally 200,000 BNC and 25,000 KR as reward to land and release in 3 months, and for the deposit LP token miners. So and the loyalty bonus is 70%. I think all of you are very familiar with this. There's another protection for the liquidity. If you take out your liquidity in advance, before the mining ends, and you will actually take some of the loyalty cost for the liquidity taking out. And the reward is expected to range for 3 months, and the reward amount is expected to be adjusted on monthly basis, which means in each month you will actually have a calculated result of you mining reward. For example, if you take out you reward at the second month, you can get the full reward in the first month, but in the second month you will actually bear some cost of the loyalty cost. So yeah, so here we got actually expectation of the reward. So if you actually did not take out your liquidity during the mining, and you will actually have a higher reward return after the mining. So it's actually roughly it seems like this, and with more liquidity in the pool, and the less of your reward will be, and you need to control about your share in the pool. So right. So in summary, I want to actually emphasize several things to make sure you know about the timeline of this. First, have a listing DEX listing in the Karura. it's actually the Bootstrap has already started, and it will over at 21st September. Sorry, it's not September, right? It's October, and at roughly about 2:30 p.m. And the BNC transfer will roughly open at UTC 2 p.m. 21st October. So cross-chain transfer you BNC to Karura for Bootstrap and liquidity mining. So you can go to the Bifrost app and try out you cross-chain transferring with Karura. So let me send the link right in the whiteboard. If you have BNC, you can transfer it. So the total price is 200,000 BNC and 25,000 KR. After the Bootstrap is over, it will align and release in the mining pool. So yeah, that's all we got. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Tyrone. I just want to chip in there because there's also a novel thing that we are experimenting with Bifrost with the liquidity program. I mean, those of you who's participated in the past kUSD related pool bootstrapping, you will remember we have triple deep, right? So basically, the base reward is if you are LPs to a pool, you even without incentives, you receive trading fees based on folks trading in the pool. And then the second thing that you're dipping into is the kUSD stablecoin. Some of those stability fees are actually shared amongst the LPs, right? And then the third dip is the liquidity mining program, where we used to provide KR as the reward. And then this time we created a new thing that you can actually include multiple tokens as reward. So basically this time you are quadruple dip, right? So in addition to trading fees, in addition to the kUSD reward, you're also getting BNC as well as KR reward. So yeah, so welcome to this new world of multiple rewards, and then see how it goes. Yeah, I mean, do let us know what you think of this sort of the new feature that we incorporated. We thought it would just be a great way to kind of help other parachain teams and also their ecosystem, not only in a way that introduced them to our community, but also in a way to kind of engage other communities more so that we can bring up all the parachain ecosystem as one, right? Because I think it's very important that each parachain within Kusama, including Kusama itself, we are one team. This goes the same way for Polkadot. The Polkadot ecosystem, as well as all the parachains connects to it. Not only we are sharing the network security, we are sharing the risk, we're sharing the upside, and we're also sharing the downside. So it's very important that, as one of the first batch of the parachain teams here, we are actually doing our bit to actually help uplift everybody in the ways that we can, right? So hopefully we're paying it forward so that everyone can do the same, and then it can actually kind of collectively help us to grow the entire Polkadot ecosystem together. So yeah, so that's a little bit of thinking behind a lot of this technical innovation. So yeah.
Cool. One question I was having, when I was listening to the presentation and taking a look at the slides and community call whiteboard, I'd love it, Tyrone, if you can get into kind of some more details about the token itself, BNC and perhaps maybe the utility, and it's just really cool to watch the DEX grow and support new listings. So I'd love to hear more.
No problem. Yeah. Actually, BNC is a native token of Bifrost, and it can be used to, get into the governance. And more important is that in the future we have also the liquidity derivative for staking, and it will perform in a different way as some actually represented validators. So at that mechanism, it will need to deposit some BNC to be actually representative validator, or you can say validated candidates. So it will actually deposit a lot of BNC in the network. So that's the BNC usage for the product. And another hand, that the BNC well used in the governance, right? So if you join the democracy, and you will deposit some of the BNC right there.
Awesome. I would also just like to, I'm just curious, could you tell us a little bit more about like the team, like I don't know how many people you guys have, like what where you guys are based, things like that.
Right. Actually, we've got 18 members in Bifrost, and we are actually have 8 members based in Shanghai, and I'm also in Shanghai now. And the rest of them are actually from France, Germany, Vietnam, and somewhere far enough that I don't know I don't know the place where it is. So we are actually I established the Bifrost in 2019, and in passing of these 2 years, we've actually designed the first of its kind, or we can say the first ever the liquidity service for the parachains, which is the SALP protocol. And in the past few months, we opened up the pseudo. We removed the pseudo, and we pushed the whole network, the whole blockchain to the decentralized manner.
Just a reminder, if you're new to the community calls here, we have a Q&A section where you can actually join the stage. You would just have to raise your hand to request to join, and we'll invite you up to ask your questions live. If you're shy or you prefer to just use text, you're welcome to ask your question in the community call chat, and we'll pull from there. So I do see one member who's had their hand up for a good portion of the call, so I'm going to invite someone to stage. And while I wait for them to join, I did see maybe a UI or UX question rather about what are the steps to participating in this liquidity mining program. If you're actually contributing toward the Bootstrap period, during the Bootstrap period rather, what does a user need to do with their LP tokens?
Yeah, so from the standard process, once the Bootstrap finished, so during the Bootstrap process, which is now, you realize there's no trading allowed. That is basically the Bootstrap serve 2 purposes. One is to kind of acquire enough liquidity. So when the pool opens, when someone starts trading, the pool is deep enough so that the trading is reasonable. And then the second thing is, compared to no Bootstrap and direct listing, is the first person sets the price, right? So we probably don't want that to happen. We just want folks to kind of go through a process, and then so the exchange rate will be set at a reasonable level. So we're kind of during that process right now. And then so then your LP share is kind of fluctuating during this Bootstrap period, because there will be new people adding either side of the token or both sides of the token, and that will actually have an impact on your LP share. So you actually see maybe the numbers up and down until when the Bootstrap completes, when then the pool, the trading will be open. And when the trading opens, at that point in time, there is a calculation for your specific LP share. And then that LP share basically represents how much liquidity that you have contributed to the pool, and then which will qualify you for how much, say, trading fees that you will receive, and also subsequent rewards that you may receive. So that is to know in general. And then once the trading starts, you will see on the same screen that there is a staking button there. So you need to claim your LP token and then stake your LP token. So in order to get the BNC reward as well as the additional KR reward, you will need to claim your LP token and then stake that LP token. Basically, lock your liquidity in the pool so that the reward are given to those folks who have a commitment to the liquidity of the pool. So those are the sort of the 2 steps you need to do. Yeah, and hopefully that helps.
Sounds clear to me. Okay, so Hank, I see you here on stage. If you want to go ahead and intro yourself and ask a question.
Wow, I didn't expect to go first, but thank you and congratulations to both teams. I think the presentation was so clear to me that I understand everything. I look forward to the double rewards that are coming, earning both tokens. I'm staring at my current liquidity and I see it growing every couple seconds, which is great. My question is a little off topic, but I was curious. The Akala, Build Akala, U.S. investors were not able to contribute. Is there like a law or some guidance that you could point to of why U.S. investors weren't able to contribute? And then the second question, if you have time, is where would I find information on who is building on Akala and building on Bifrost? I had a difficult time finding that information.
Yeah, I can answer that. It is off topic, but that's okay. Yeah, for Build Akala, it is not a decentralized event. So basically, we just follow what the legal counsel advised us. And in regions and also jurisdictions that may pose high risk to the project, then they are basically require those sort of exclusions, right? And then unfortunately, US is one of those areas. While we have, kind of like allies in those regions, and folks are trying to kind of work with regulators, but still there's a lot of uncertainty in the area, and basically we are advised to do so. So basically it's a risk-based assessment. And then as for projects building on Akala, I think I think we can improve on kind of listing all the projects. We have a lot, so we have not been able to update everything on our website. If you go to our website, at the bottom of it, I think there are some ecosystem project being listed there, but I understand that's a bit outdated. And then we are working on a new version of our website, and hopefully we can actually update those details a little bit more. And also another hint will be, some of the more mature projects that we work with. So we don't, if you follow us, we don't generally make a lot of announcements, but for the announcements we make, they are usually relatively substantial, which means there's already applications being deployed on our testnet at least, or some very substantial integration that has happened. So you can also look through our Medium announcements with other projects. That's also a hint there. So I agree, there's no central place very easily for us to do that, but I think the next stage for us is kind of brush up that sort of the communication for folks to follow. Yeah. So the most recent one I can point you to is like Tree Protocol, a very serious team that's been building for the last 6 months. And then they're also building something that I think some of you will be very interested, is a synthetic asset for various different similar tokens in the likes of LC, Liquid Crowd Loan Dot, Liquid Dot, and also Dot, right? So they do a sort of trading protocol as well as synthetic asset that kind of can aggregate liquidity from similar or stable assets. So yeah, so that's one project that will be interesting. There are others along the pipeline as well, along NFT as well. But yeah, we haven't actually made the announcement, but I'm sure we'll be able to share more information in a more structured way for you guys to follow. Yeah, but thanks for putting that out. And then as for Bifrost, I'll just leave to Tyrone.
Yeah, actually, that's a question that we haven't reached out. Actually, for developers in Bifrost, we want to actually accumulate much of liquidity in, or we can say accumulate much of the assets in Bifrost, and we will plan to open up for a decentralized contribute for developers, because actually Bifrost is also a DeFi protocol, right? And so what developers need to do upon the Bifrost is actually you want to do some application or functions based on the basic function of Bifrost. So the basic function actually need to capture a lot of value, and you will have chance to do some other things upon it. So we will plan to actually release a developer doc documentation in the end of this year, and we will release some details about how you can contribute on Bifrost. And I think it will be opened up with the same procedure with Karura and Kala. So actually we are also in the same boat, right? So let's go ship it. Thanks.
Thank you so much, both teams, and thank you for taking my question. And I just appreciate that both teams just seem to be doing the right thing for the community. So thank you very much, and good luck and congratulations.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks. Yeah, I think one thing to add to that is also we should start thinking cross-chain applications than just applications deployed on one ecosystem, right? So I think the more interesting application that's going to come out, next kind of WeWow will be applications that may be able to combine, for example, Bifrost, assets, and then cross over to Akala and then be able to generate yield or put the asset into use in some way or another. But it happens on an application that kind of are able to take the user end-to-end experience from one end to the other, rather than an application just focus on one parachain in silo, right? I think those will be the applications that will become more interesting and probably closer to probably the end experience that you would expect, right? So because I don't expect anyone is going to be able to figure out, all the different addresses on different parachains. That's still very infrastructure level that we are building here, with folks like Bifrost. But I think if some of you are listening and trying to figure out what new things that you could build and contribute, certainly, crossing applications will be an area that's relatively untapped and a lot of opportunity there as well. So
Cool. Thanks so much, Hank. Let's kick it over to Blink. Blink, if you can go ahead with your question.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, everybody. My first question is for Tyrone. In regards to SALP, I noticed some crowd loans were supported sometime after their campaigns were initially started. And I myself missed out on Basilisk and Kintsugi just barely, even though I was even like looking, And I'm just wondering about the announcement of future integrations.
All right. Actually, we haven't planned about which parachain, which candidates we will support with, but the SLP will be actually a self-service protocol for any other parachains. The first batch actually we do the initialize. It's a whiteboard whitelist for the projects, and we chose them. But in the auctions week by week, so they will actually applicate for it by themselves. So we actually don't know what parachains will be supported, and all of them will go through the democracy and choosing by the BNC holder. So I cannot say who's the next, but it will be running in the next auctions. And by the way, the VS dot for the dot parachain auction, we are also supported, but in actually semi-centralized way. But you will know about it in the forum soon. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much for that answer. And then I have one more question for Betty. Are there plans for vsKSM, KSM, LP?
Yes, I mean, KSM to cross over to Karura first. And then as for what pools that is going to be listed, I think that's up to the community to kind of decide, propose, and kind of debate about what is required, right? And then maybe a few factors maybe to consider is, maybe you want some liquidity out of the vsKSM, then, a pool with KSM is deemed reasonable, right? And then there are probably I don't have a very deep understanding of vsKSM, but my understanding is there's also rewards attached to it. So you might consider factors like how would that impact on sort of the impermanent loss if you start a pool like that, and then kind of structure the reward kind of makes sense. But certainly, yeah. So I think once you get a token across, then there's a number of things that you can immediately do on Karura as well. So yeah, for sure.
Sweet. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much. So I'm looking in community call chat. It looks like somebody has a question about the bootstrapping period itself. Is there an issue if one token is heavily represented over another token after the bootstrapping period for the two tokens ends? So this is kind of the beauty of the bootstrapping mechanism. The trading is not enabled until after it meets all of the qualifications for it to be successful in a healthy pool. And Betty, maybe you can go into a little more detail about what's happening if one side is getting more support during the bootstrap period.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, well, this is basically a process of the market, which is everyone who's contributing, kind of setting the exchange rate, right? Then it basically reflects what the market thinks, which is basically how everyone thinks the exchange rate should be, right? And then when you say it's one side significantly higher or lower, it's always going to be higher or lower, right? Because that's what the exchange rate that you are setting. I'm assuming you are referring higher or lower, maybe relative to maybe that exchange rate that's already been set in a centralized exchange or some other DEXs, then you can compare, and then you will have an arbitrage opportunity, right? But if it's like an initial exchange rate setting, and that is basically you are contributing to setting the exchange rate during that process. And then depends on which side of the table you are. You know, some people will contribute both tokens. Some will just contribute one side of the token. And if you, I guess, if you think that exchange rate is favorable to you, then you're probably happy. So the high and low is quite a relative term. But if I guess the exchange rate kind of goes against what you think or what you anticipated, you could certainly contribute in the opposite direction so that you can counter what you anticipated. You can also contribute both sides so that you're always in level with what is going to happen potentially and kind of lower your risk. But obviously, if you lower your risk, then at the same time, you also lower the potential gain that you could have made, right? So this is kind of like a game theory thing. There could be people playing one side, the other, or both, and then kind of also trying to get slightly different outcomes as well. So hence, using a mechanism like this without one person judging exactly how this whole thing is going to turn out, we're basically using a crowdsourced intelligence or the crowdsourced approach to figure out what is the fair market exchange rate, right? So yeah, so I guess hopefully that gives people a little bit more light. Yeah, I don't know, like Tyrone, maybe you have other insights as well, but that's kind of my view. So.
Yeah, I would just
All
say
right.
that the bootstrap period, one thing that is really exciting for me about it is, not only is it setting a fair market rate by utilizing this mechanism, but the barrier to entry, by being able to make a contribution or provide liquidity on one side with just one token, to me is great because it lowers the barrier to entry to be able to participate as an LP. But with that said, I definitely would encourage everyone to read up a little more about how the bootstrap period works. Definitely understand impermanent loss and make sure that you're prepared and in taking on the role of an LP. There's definitely some advanced learning I think that's required before you get started there. Cool. So it seems that we are at the end of our hour here. I want to reiterate that the BNC kUSD pair is in bootstrap mode for a little bit longer. I believe it's going to end around October 21st. We have it down 1300 UTC, but of course, that's dependent on the block too. And then at that point, the liquidity mining reward program will begin, which is 200,000 BNC over the course of 3 months, and then of course 25. So kind of an exciting program. Plus, you can increase your rewards by keeping your liquidity in with the loyalty bonus. So kind of a cool debut, continuing the liquidity mining programs here on Karura. And we're so excited to hear more about Bifrost and to meet you, Tyrone.
Thanks, Akla team. Very nice to meet you. I'm very pleasure to be here once again. So I used to be once here. Very happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for taking the time. We're going to wrap it up. And if you have any follow-up questions, just ask either in the community call chat here or in the Karura chat within the Discord. So we will talk to you guys soon. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
guys.
All right. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.